that's a triple play. New episodes, I couldn't wait. Yeah, open your mind at the first gate. Press play, no need to debate. AoA, check me out. Look, clocked in, you can catch the hype. Golden Dawn, how we follow the light. Anime like life, married to it, my wife. All these episodes we binging. 3 points, how the Benz is, and it started just with some friendship. Now the videos is endless. Double A with that O in the middle. All my hate, but them boys is brittle. I've been a senpai, and we going crazy like hentai. 3 dudes that been studying this. Apostle, you don't need an exorcist. Tune in to like once a week. End over, how we bringing the heat. Jesus, AoA, that's a triple play. New episodes, we couldn't wait. Apostles of anime. Yeah, open your mind, that's the first gate. Press play, no need to debate. Apostles of anime. AoA, that's a triple play. New episodes, they couldn't wait. Apostles of anime. Open your mind, that's the first gate. Press play, no need to debate, man. Apostles of anime.
Alright, got me to make some pepper, boy.
of the cool nights. Find me in the leaf of the cloud, screaming out Bankai. We just some ghouls though, who like seeing parts fly. They like what you saying, Goma got more through the storylines. I texted your nephew in the store, my hunters gon' come for your heart. I promise you'll land in my boulevard. Left them in one piece, no curse, smart like damn bruh. I'ma do this for Britannia. Sins with me, that's a stand-up. Press play, don't disobey, then you getting judged by apostles of anime. Apostles of anime. Apostles of anime. AoA, AoK, look. Apostles of anime. Apostles of anime. Press play, don't disobey, then you getting judged by apostles, apostles, apostles.
Yo, I'm Gavin today. What's Gucci shoes? Yo, I feel weird as hell being in this spot. I told Isaiah, I'm like, this is off. I'm out of my element. I'm out of my element here. Let us know if y'all can hear us. I'm going to mess with some stuff real quick as we do this. I wish I could rip this mic out and I just talk like this, but you know how it'll be. Let's see.
What it is.
What is going on, though, ladies and gentlemen?
Hello.
Hello. Something like that. A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Just to clarify for everybody, let everybody know, this is a work in progress. I think I can actually say that this is something we'd like to do again. It's a really cool idea, and we both really do fuck with doing this kind of thing, and it's always nice to see you guys sort of like flex your creative muscles, so to speak. But we're gonna kind of just, this is something we're workshopping as we go. Obviously, this was more or less we put together pretty frequently and pretty recently. So let us know if there's like a specific format that you guys would prefer, or like if going forward it's like, oh, I would like it if we could see this thing or whatever. Because basically right now, the way we could get into it in a little bit, but the way the setup is going to be is we're just going to be talking to you like here on the screen here, on the just chatting, and then when we go into, I think there's 4 stories, so when we go into reading each story, we're going to switch to a different scene that just has the story, because we couldn't find any way to implement the camera onto the story screen like the way we liked, where the camera wasn't blocking the story or what have you. So that's the way we're going to work with this. But yeah.
Hell yeah. Thank you to everyone who participated, by the way, as well. And I want to say one thing for anybody watching. Do I have camera issues? No, hopefully not. I'll cry. Let me know if I do. I'll try and fix things on the fly here. So what was I going to say? Oh, just as a side note here, for anyone that was maybe a little hesitant to submit a story, anyone who did submit it and then redacted it, anything like that, go for it. Just go for it. Number one, I'll say it for selfish reasons. It really makes our job easier in the sense that we have more material to cover, so we get a longer stream. It doesn't feel like we're just stringing y'all along for an hour and we don't have to provide any sort of fluff, because we got to entertain at the end of the day. So it does help on a selfish note there, but also just, on an individual note and on a more selfless note, I always, I'd like to try and encourage people to put whatever work out there that they can and just rock with it. It might not be the thing that you're most proud of, but I think something is better than nothing. And you might have hit some gold where you think you didn't, and nobody would know that though if it's not out there. So I guess what I'm saying here is that for any future competitions, endeavors, things like this, short story, all that, just go for it. If it sounds like something that remotely interests you, nobody's just going to sit here and be like, wow, what a loser. They submitted to this thing. We're going to be happy that you did, regardless of the outcome here. All of this at the end of the day, just do it. All this at the end of the day is, it should be fun. It should be lighthearted. It should be a good time for everybody around. So
and this,
just want to throw that out there.
I think this is like a cool way, if there is something you're interested in or vaguely interested in, kind of a cool way to like get your practice in on it, and kind of like, because, like you said, we're not here to be like, look at these 4 stupid stories. Like, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
the people who wrote these and submitted these, and we're doing this because we're like, wow, this is really fucking cool. And like, I can't wait to read these stories. So yeah, definitely don't shy away or hesitant.
Yeah, 100%. What is going on anyway? People's in the chat right now. We got the Fire Potato, Joe Will Go Bald, Pipe Dream, Liberty Rising, 88. Nathan is here. Coco Goat, love that one. Curly Beard says, "Hey guys, what's going on, Curly? Keeping that beard curly, I hope." Enryu is here saying, "Just do it." But much love to all the YouTube and Twitch folks right now. Obviously, as you guys can see, we are multi-streaming again, which is something that we want to try and implement when we have the ability to do so. But what does that mean? That means that you want to hit us up on both YouTube and Twitch, whether it's a follow or a sub, so you guys could stay up to date with what's going on, because we don't always get to multi-stream depending on if it's copyright sensitive material or the subject matter is more of a reaction style, or we just want to go exclusively on Twitch. It's kind of up in the air sometimes. So the only really ways to know is when we, tell you over social media or Discord, or you get that notification, whether it's via Twitch or YouTube, whatever the case might be. So the only way you're going to be able to do that is if you are subscribed on YouTube, if you are following on Twitch, and you have that notification bell turned on for both of them. So definitely go do that right now if you haven't already. And I did see that Liberty Rising during the stream starting screen did follow on Twitch. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
I do apologize in advance, by the way, because the nature of multi-streaming makes it so that we don't have a mini feed. And for those of you who are confused on what that means that I cannot see on our Streamlabs setup, our software for streaming, when somebody, follows, donates, whatever. I don't have that alert stored and saved. So I will do my best to catch them in the moment as they come and shout you guys out for that, because obviously we want to do that. But if we want to stream to both platforms at the same time to make it easier for you guys, unfortunately they don't give us a mini feed option, because we're kind of gaming the system by doing that. So we have to be like signed out as a guest. It's a whole big thing. So anyway, just want to throw that out there and thank everyone in advance that does support the channel. So anyway, we are reading some short stories today. Like we said, we had 4 of them, which we're really excited to get into. When we do read them, going into like the in-game screen, we are going to take off the camera. Hopefully that isn't too jarring for folks, but we went through these quickly before we started, and we realized that the format that some of them are in, because y'all sent them in virtually 3 out of the 4 of them are different format, a different format. So sometimes the camera just straight up blocks like half a paragraph on there, and we can't get the camera much smaller because there are multiple of us on screen. That's just how we roll here at the AoA show. We can't just like hyper zoom in on one face or green screen it, because we just got a lot of room back there that we'd need to green screen. So we opted for just nixing the camera completely, hopefully get into the story reading mode, in our ASMR voices. Hopefully you guys are okay with that. And then we will come back into the just chatting screen in between each story to talk about what we thought about them, how we want to rank them, all that kind of stuff. Now, being that there are 4 stories, only one could win, because if we had like a litany of them, like 20 or something ridiculous, we could do like a top 3 or whatever, but it would feel a little weird to do a top 3 and then one person just gets excluded from the mix. So being that there are 4 of them, we're just gonna have it as there is one winner to it. Now again, this is totally subjective on our end, and our opinions are not the end all be all. Really, they don't matter at the end of the day. So whoever wins, it doesn't really matter, but I hope y'all can take some personal pride in it. Really, you're all winners for submitting a story just to begin with. I did want to point out that Levi is dead, our display on the back here. We're very sad about that. Yeah, so I don't know. I'm upset. I just need to vent that. Well, I came in this morning
with the Ackerman,
and it just literally slid right off the wall and just smashed into the floor. And it's
obviously
intact,
because it's Gavin's fault.
Yeah, it's Gavin's
he's trying to sabotage the show and the set. And I, for one, am not really here for it.
Yeah,
not at all.
Absolutely. So anyway, so how are we going to be ranking these stories? So in our genius, we just Googled what are the best, the key elements of a story, right? Because why not? And there are 5 components, key components, elements that make a good story. So that's what we're going to be ranking these off of today. So the first being characters, which is a pretty obvious one, the setting, the plot, the conflict, and the resolution. So Isaiah and I will try and give these like a 1 through 5 scoring for each of them in order to tally up points. And then we will put the sum total of those points up here on the Just Chatting screen when we're done with each person's story. And that's what we're going to use to rank them and, declare a winner at the end of the day. So anyway, that being said, let's do it. Actually, real quick though, I'm just gonna change one thing because I want to make this a little more anonymous. Because initially I had your names up there, and we'll put the points next to it. But I'm gonna try and not shout out the names of whoever they are as we read them. Okay. So that way, for people that I know, a couple of you in here have I see you, but not all of you in here wrote a story. So I'd like to keep that kind of mystified and mystery and not have any sort of inherent bias going towards them. And then we'll just rank them like that. But just give me 1 second, because I just thought of that on the fly, and I just want to change that before I display the names and kind of shit all over that thing that I just said. So anyway,
everybody knows that we like one of the people who wrote the stories over the other 3. So, we don't want, we're going to give them the win anyway, but we just, we don't want you guys to know that. So we want to make it seem like it's fair. Yeah. But really, life is rigged and the game's unfair. So just know that going in, and always set your expectations lower than whatever it is you want. And always be willing to settle. Absolutely. I mean, if anything, start out settling. Don't even bargain. Don't even negotiate. It's not worth it. That's pretty much.
I leave the mic with you for 3 minutes, and you're already giving our chat the worst.
Just look. You could put on your Captain America cap and tell everybody that the world is what you make it, but it's not. It's a cold, dark, and gross place, and it's kill or be killed out here, bro.
Unreal.
You're either a dog or you're a dog's meal.
This is why I sit in the middle. We got Sigby99 with the follow on Twitch. Thank you very much for that. Much appreciated. Love you.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see. Okay, I think we're good. So let's
switching to YouTube because Twitch is lagging bad. Yeah, Twitch be lagging, bro. I don't know what it, because this happens when I stream at home too. Like, I'll stream on YouTube and it's like literally like maybe like at worst it's like a 5 to 3 second lag, but like Twitch be like straight, it feels like 30 seconds.
Is it a lag or a delay? Like, so as in, say something, they hear it 30 seconds later,
it's actually
just choppy?
Both, but it's more delay than lag.
Okay.
I mean, because I think, lag is more dependent on who's watching. Like, because sometimes it might just be like their internet's worse or different than ours, or somebody else's. But like, I be having delays like real bad.
Really?
With Twitch.
There might be an inherent setting on Twitch that we have to check that auto delays it. So like, if it would lag, it just keeps delaying it. Yeah. I know that does that naturally with Streamlabs. So eventually, by the end of the stream, they're probably like a full minute behind. But in the beginning, I don't know. Anyway, here we are. That's why we're multi-streaming on YouTube and Twitch. So great. All right. Anyway, we're gonna get into this, right? Ready? All right, let's do this, chat. We're gonna get into the first story now. Our camera's gonna be going out, but you'll hear us like a radio talk show, and then we'll go through the story and read it. Anyway, let's do this. Thank you for pointing that out because I was just talking to myself for a solid minute there.
It was.
And then you're like, yeah, there's no audio. So just give me 1 second.
We were saying all kinds of really nice things about you guys.
This is my first day on the job, guys. Just give me a second here. So we have an audio input capture, and this one is.
Yeah, you guys are gonna have to forgive Ian. He's a new hire.
Yeah, I'm usually I'm the anchor. I'm talking.
It's usually
I'm plugging,
the face.
You know what I mean?
He's,
Yeah. This audio shit. All right, give me 1 second.
Chill, Will. Y'all really
Okay, let us know how we're looking now, or how we're sounding, rather. This is what we're gonna do the whole time.
Giving them a sound so they can tell.
We should have just made this a radio show with no faces or anything, so they had
Dude.
no clue what we looked like.
That's
this
how we
entire
started.
time. Yeah,
There
that
was
is
no
true.
video.
There was no video. I keep on
Fucking
forgetting that.
Some idiot was like, "Let's get a camera," and like now everybody knows what the fuck we look like.
Oh,
But we could have
jeez.
just been saying some heinous shit, and nobody.
We
would know.
were at first.
Well, yeah, actually, we were.
We were really bad at first, dude.
Actually, that's so funny because when we started going on YouTube and like making this into videos, we had to get like so much more like watered down.
We're still pretty bad.
Well, we're still pretty bad.
We
but,
get
like,
demonetized on half of our freaking videos.
yeah, but like that's because YouTube is like if you say "but," you're getting demonetized. But like when the first week we start, bro, it was more curse words than content.
Dude, for real, dude. Oh, geez, that was crazy. I remember my old boss, or our old boss, we worked at the place, was like, we first started, and he's like, "Oh, Ian, I listened to your podcast." I'm like, "Why?" I'm like, "You did?" I'm like, you like anime. Like, what are you doing?" He's like, and I'm like, "Which one did you listen to?" Because I remember like the day before we posted one where I just like went off on something totally ridiculous, and I was like cursing a storm up, calling people out. I don't know what kind of energy I was on when we first started this, but that was crazy. I'm like, all right, we're going to dial that back a little bit. But all right, anyway, getting into our radio show roots here. All right, so like I said, first story is going to be Strike Me Down. I said, like I said, but y'all didn't hear me. So I'm going to say it again. Strike Me Down is the first story here. Just so for everyone to be on board with the blueprint of these stories. The really only parameter that we put out, being that this is our first time, is that this had to be a story that had to do with the origin story of an anime character. Now, that could be a pre-existing anime character, but it didn't have to be. It could be an anime character of your own invention. We have not read these stories ahead of time, obviously, so I have no clue what we're going to hop into here. It'll be interesting to see if somebody used a pre-existing anime character and we catch it, right? Yeah. Unless they use their name explicitly, obviously, or it's someone of their own invention. I am curious to see. I hope there is a good mix of the two. I mean, there's 4 stories. I hope at least one story makes their own, and at least one has one that's pre-existing. Because I'm curious to see what the difference is between
Contrast,
that will be.
Yeah.
As we go on and make more competitions and all that kind of jazz. We will switch up rules. It'll be different themes, different criteria, different outline, all that kind of stuff. But this is what we got today, just so everyone knows. And again, we're ranking characters, setting, plot, conflict, and resolution, right? Characters, setting, plot, conflict, resolution. So be on the lookout for that as we go through these stories. Now, being that there are 4 of them, I guess we could take turns reading them. Would you like to take away the first one?
No.
All right, then I'll do it. You're getting 2 of them at the end of the day. So,
no, I don't care.
Is that good with you?
Yeah.
Okay, give me a second. Let me pop this mouse over here. There we go. So don't kill my tendonitis here. All right. Anyway, whenever you are ready, friend, you can take it away. I will scroll as needed. Silence in the room, quiet on set.
Hey, you in the back. Relax.
Take it easy.
About to record, okay? Interns. All right.
Really give it your all.
Story. The story. No, I'm kidding. All right. I should be dead. I should have died 13 years ago. I guess if you turn it sideways, squint, and ask some 50-year-old philosopher from 800 BCE his opinion on the matter, I currently am. But who has the time for shit like that? Life goes on with or without you. I don't know when or why it happened, but a select few people started being born with weird abilities. power-crazy dumbasses would fight over them. The government tried to use them. These powers were only destructive, though uncontrollable. Stressors caused the users to explode quite literally, leaving nothing behind but a pile of bones, guts, and a pool of blood. Those ideas were finally scratched. After that, I guess the only real options they had were having the users repress their emotions enough to avoid catastrophe, lobotomies, or execution. The repression would lead to an inevitable final kaboom. So that obviously never left the drafts, but the lobotomies were also crossed off. They probably ruled the testing as dangerous. Whatever the reasons may be, most nations decided on poisoning the kids after their first signs of abilities, then blaming the deaths on the abilities themselves. Enough people had already died from that exact cause. Political mumbo-jumbo later, they got the pandemic under control. All this being said, how did I survive? I don't fucking know. I don't remember. I do know, however, that life would have been easier if I hadn't. If I'm happy, things move around and explode. With any emotion, really. I need to watch every thought as to not commit mass murder. Then again, it sounds kind of fun. I used to be terrified of it. No, I was never scared. What fear? No, I felt nothing. That knot in my chest was but hunger. I was never afraid. If I were, I'd be dead. Okay. Thinking back, I don't really have many good memories. Who am I kidding? I don't have many memories at all. But I do remember Kira, the girl of my dreams. I always liked dreaming. What? Oh. Can you stop fucking... That's when I'd visit her every night. She was never there. Can you move that? God damn it, you're so fired. She was never there when I was awake, so being asleep suited me better. She had the best smile. Or was it the only smile? The warmth and light it radiated could rival the sun. No, it would beat the sun any day. Sometimes it was so bright it would burn. Not that I would ever mind. She brought me joy. No, I never felt joy. It was warmth, a gentle hug, a support to lean on. I'd vent of all my worldly issues to her, and she would listen gently. Can you listen gently? Well, she could. After everything was over, she'd always pull me into a hug, and she would say that everything would be all right, and I'd believe her. I remember now. I needed to cry. No, clear my eye ducts. When I visited her one night, she'd simply giggled and told me not to be afraid. She held me close and whispered fantastical tales of dragons and witches and knights in rusty armor being eaten by witch-dragon hybrids. I'd always look at her as a genius. Now I see. Maybe I should have listened to her more closely. Those words pop out more, now that I know what they mean. Sometimes you scare me, she'd say. But that's all right. The best things always come with a hint of fear. That's where you find adventure. One day, the adventure gets too tiring for even the bravest of souls. I used to walk down the same path every day. I remember I'd pass a stand with the same smell of sweetness and a hint of tart. I don't know what it was. It shut down before I could ever know. On the ground of my path, I remember a knife so vividly in my mind. A simple thought would always fester. Take it and shove it into your eye. I mentioned this to Kira once. I think I regretted it a bit. The fear in her eyes, as she pleaded me not to do such a thing, left me feeling bare. My head spun, heart amplified by a megaphone. I'd forgotten how to breathe. Or it'd be more accurate to say the pain in my chest blocked it. A simple hug from her, and the calming lull of her voice seemed to cure me. She was magical. Far more than I. A bit of fear is fun, she said, but she left something out for a while. A little water may heal, but you'll eventually drown. I take it that's what happened to you, dear Kira. You ran away in fright. You told me I should never fear. So why did you lose that fight? It's all become too much now. I need you here with me. Perhaps I put too much weight on you and blame the rest on my shoulders. I'm sad. I'm scared. I'm upset. I'll admit it now. I don't care if that means these people are falling. This charred world, bathed in red, is nothing to me if I just drop dead. Wasn't that always described as a permanent dream? Maybe then I'll make up with Kira. I'll find joy again. But death won't come. My body just won't hit the floor. I keep stabbing and stabbing, but not a drop of blood falls. I scream. At least, I think I do. Just let me fall. It's been days as I sit here. Not even sleep will come. And here comes a man clad in rusted armor, wielding a sword, just like the knights in Kira's tales. Yet this time, the evil to destroy seems to be me. You aren't here to save me, are you? You're here to strike me down. To that I say, try your hand. I failed. Please, Kira, wait for me. Come on now, young man. You're here to be a hero. Strike me down. Kill me. I dare you. Do it now. Please.
Okay. So, first story down, story numero uno. Thank you very much for submitting it. I do apologize, being that first day on the job here as a technical man. I realized a couple things mid-story that I was like, I had the title up there, but then as I'm scrolling, the title was blocking shit. And then when I came over, it jumbles the fucking screen up.
Yeah,
and all
a
that
couple
kind of
notes,
shit.
if I may. One, you suck.
Fuck off. Was that your note? Was that?
Yeah.
Oh my God. But actually, I'm thinking too, because maybe it makes sense for you to, maybe it makes sense for you to give like the official grading, being that you were like immersed in that. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Number one, I feel like I wouldn't be able to do it total justice because of the fact that I was fucking around. I had to fuck around with that, and like I got the story down. But just just in general, I could give some elements to it, but maybe if it's like there's a like a tie or something, you could have like final word on something like that, and we could go back and forth. I don't know, but
yeah,
I'll give my. You know what? I don't know.
Fucking talk.
Nah, fuck that. Never mind. I'm good. I got the story down. We're fucking good.
He's like,
Never
all right,
mind.
I have to come clean. I don't know how to speak English. I've just been masquerading this whole time, and I'm afraid to talk because I don't know how to do it.
Fucking stupid. Anyway, so let's go through the elements of this story here and what we would grade it. We're gonna do a 1 out of 5 here ranking, like 1 through 5 in terms of what I mean, like what it is. So yeah. If that
1
makes
through
sense.
5, like for everything, like 1 through 5 this, 1 through 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or do you think 1, 2 through 3, or is that like too small?
No, 5's fine.
5's good.
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, first thing here, like I said, we have character, setting, plot, conflict, and resolution as them. So these stories are short, obviously. So you know what? Fuck that. Ready? We're gonna do this on the fly right here. Sorry. It's our first time, okay? Character, setting, plot.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because conflict and resolution, the story's like a page.
Yeah.
It's like what conflict?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I feel like it's
Like
not
it
long
gets to the
enough.
end of a scene and not really a story. so
Yeah,
it's like, how
exactly.
do
It's not like a
yeah,
full-on story, so it just I feel like it's kind of unfair to do that. So character, setting, plot. As far as we know, right?
Sure.
Does that seem
Yeah,
fair?
yeah.
All right, that's what we're doing. Project Omnia says, just do it, guys. All right. Anyway, let's do it. What do you think? First thing, characters. Let's go.
Characters, I really liked. I think it felt very real, so it felt like the story, was obviously chronologing or like following a lot of the thoughts of what I presume to be like the main character here of this. And I really liked it. It was like it kind of reminded me that like so like a lot of the things that this person was saying kind of feel like things that like are, the only way I can describe it is like these are a lot of things that you think but don't say, right? And that's sort of like in a way seemed to me where the story was going, right? That like there's these are, this is this person chronologing their past transgressions, right, and their regrets, right, with this girl Kira, and maybe anybody else in their life in this world, because it's now been transformed, or it was alluded to that it's turned into this sort of like hellish landscape version of itself. But I really like I like that this sort of just goes real deep in on the main character here and real deep on the introspection, and you really get like I really do understand how this person thinks, and I think it's actually a pretty common like thought process. Now with it, not that everybody thinks like this, but I guess I don't know. You know what it is? There's a rawness to this. There's like that I really like. Okay.
Now in terms of character, the characters specifically, taking away setting or plot, what would you honestly rank out of 5?
I think I'd have to do a 4.
Okay.
I really liked it. Yeah.
Solid. Okay. Yeah. So my thoughts on characters here, are, so it becomes a little tough again, obviously, because the topic is origin story, right? So it's like we are kind of in this thrown into this. It's like this like dark, messed up version of like what Deku does in the beginning of like My Hero, where he's like, everyone has quirks. Quirks are cool, you know what I mean? But like this is the flip, like the setting, you know what I'm saying? Like and all that kind of stuff. At least how I interpreted it, and like a very grungy and real element of it. And there's kind of this ambiguity and this fog that's set over like what the specifics of some of these things are. Mm-hmm. So I would say that I liked the thought process of our character. Did we get our character's name? Like the actual...
No.
Okay. So it's, again, there's a lot of like left in the mist, right? Where it seems as if this is the prelude, you know what I'm saying? To like what now we jump into, or like we see this from like a future standpoint, and then we go through everything that got us to this point, right? Until we get to the, come on, man, be a hero, strike me down, right? I guess my point at it is that I like the thought process of the character, and I like the writing, the lines right through it. There's a lot of this like poetic element to it, and this beautiful yet tragic element to it. But I would say my only critique in terms of the characters is that I guess I'm in the dark about our actual main character, right? Like our protagonist there, which for me would be one of the only detractors with it. So I guess that's where I am with, what I mean with that. In terms of setting and plot, though, I do like that. I think that's where more of my points would go personally, because I like I said, the setting to me is kind of cool. How it's like we're in this, this world where there are abilities. We don't know all that much about them, but it seems like that obviously the government has been in on this bullshit. There are people that are almost, there's almost like this underground, element to it. There are people fighting over it. It's like a pandemic. This isn't like a good thing inherently, where it's like everybody gets super strength or whatever. So it seems to affect people pretty differently here. And then, and that kind of ties into, I guess the plot here is that our main character, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is, essentially wants to die, right, in order to meet Kira again, which was his or her one love,
or see if they can,
or see.
The implication is that they've tried to take their own life or tried to inflict harm on themselves, and it like doesn't work.
Yeah, and so that's an interesting flip, right? In that, and again, I'm just speculating here, that the character now, their mission, right, in it is to die, right? Which I find kind of interesting, that it's like we go into this story from the beginning where it's like my end goal here is to is to try and die, right? Is to try and be struck down at the end, and not in this like I need to find a worthy opponent way, but in this I need to see Kira again way, right? At least that's what I'm getting from it. And I think that's interesting because it flips the usual narrative right on its head, right? That I need to like slay whatever in order to see you again or defeat said obstacle, and like the obstacle is me, right? So I find that to be kind of interesting, and it'd be cool to see where this story could go in the future, where it's like this person goes through X, scenarios, but it's like maybe there's there maybe at one point in the story there's like a time where the person could like maybe have died, but it's like it comes down to like, okay, but if you like take that selfish route and die and like X people are in danger, like you have the ability to save them, what do you do here, etc. Like my mind runs with like a lot of cool moral dilemmas that I can see with the motivation of the character. So talking in circles here, but I would probably give the setting, or rather, I would give the characters probably my lowest grade. I'm gonna go with a 2 there. I'm gonna go setting. I'm gonna go with a let's go with a we'll go with a 3.5. And then plot, I'm gonna go with a 5 on plot, because I like the idea of where this story could go. I think it's a really cool jumping point, in terms of where this story could go. But anyway, I don't know if you have anything on plot and conflict.
Yeah, I definitely share similar thoughts about like this feels very prelude-y. It feels very like if I were watching a show or reading a book or whatever, like that you read this and then you get into chapter 1. And in that regard, I actually think it does a really good job of setting up the main character, at least their mindset. Now, in terms of like who that person is, like, that feels like what you get into in the first chapter.
Sure.
This is sort of like, this is the hook, right? This is what you throw at the reader, audience member, whoever, and they're like, ooh, what the fuck is that? And then they like, then they turn the page or whatever, and then they get into the first episode or first chapter or whatnot.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said before, character 4, I actually really like it. I think it does enough for me, and I think it does enough in general to like set up who this person is in this world. I would say for setting, I'd probably have to do like I would have to say 3, because I feel like it was good and I like the world, but that's actually where I personally feel like I would have liked a little bit more info in this prelude, is like, sort of just grounding, or not grounding, but like explaining a little bit more about where maybe like if this is, because at one point they stated that like there was like, there's like dragons and like there's a mystical, and magical element to it, but like, so like where are we? Is this a place like, I don't know. There was many questions I had about the setting and sort of like where all these, even these 3 pieces that they give us in terms of the main character Kira, like fit into this puzzle. And then what was the last one?
What did you score on that one?
That one, setting?
Yeah.
3.
A 3? Okay. What did I give it, a 3 as well? Fuck. Dark Door's like, you write these down? I'm like, I'll remember it. And I'm like, fuck, I'm not going to remember
I think
it.
you said 2.5 or some shit like that.
Or was it like 3.5?
Or I don't know. It was like some.
Chat, what the hell did I say?
I remember you said
3?
something half.
It was 3 or 3.5. I can't remember.
Was it 3?
I need help. I need help here. Let's see. Just to give it, because I'm gonna write them. I'm gonna put their points individually there. I said 3.5.
Yeah,
you totally said 6.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you said like 12.
3.5, right? And you gave it a 3, so 6.5 and 2
yeah.
there. Okay. And then
3, pick number 3, my lord. And then what the plot? Plot. Yeah, I think I also got to give it a 5. Because I really, as I was reading this, like, dead ass, I was like, okay, like, give me the first episode of this anime. Like, because I like this feels like some like like if you took my hero with like it's like literally like you were saying where it's like, oh, you know, Deku gives a rundown of like the world, but you like mixed it with like some fucked up like Attack on Titan shit, like where it's like this world, like there's just as much as I still have questions about like the setting of the world, I do like the idea of this world. Like I really want to know, you know, I want this place to like exist in a story. I mean, you know, in an actual like thing, and I want more about, you know, this main character and you know what exactly their relationship was with Kiro, if it was different, you know, like I don't know, I have so many like questions, but in a good way, but in terms of the plot. And like you were saying, like my mind, even as I was reading it, my mind was like, oh, okay, so like they're thinking like this, but maybe like then they'll end up growing, like, you know, to learn like what the value of, you know, human life is. Like, you know, there's just so many things going through my mind, which I really liked. So yeah.
So I'm just trying to get this so it'll fit properly and that you guys can see it. Let me know if you guys can see that score okay. It's up in the top left corner here in the just chatting screen. So LOL 6 on a scale 1 to 5. All right, cool. Mix of My Hero and Attack on Titan, epic shit. Yeah, right. What's going on, Ozzy, by the way? Yeah, so okay, so that is story 1. Hopefully you guys can see the score okay here. Characters, I just, you know, I'm going to put the sum totals of what we do for each one, and then we'll go into the grand total at the end of the day. So you can kind of rank it off of like, well, guess what? I was going for the best setting anyway, and I freaking killed it. So it doesn't matter if I don't have the highest total score. It doesn't even matter. So,
like,
right?
I made all this shit up.
I'm not continuing the story.
Imagine what I could do with some fucking resources.
Okay. Anyway, all right, cool. So
are we gonna do like this was so and so story? Or are we waiting till the?
We're gonna wait until the end. Yeah. I mean, some people from chat could probably figure it out because they're sounding off, but I'm gonna keep it anonymous until the end, and then I guess I could ask to see if we want to make it not anonymous, like once we're done with all of them. I don't know. I
don't even know. I mean, I'm sure you do because you're clicking on them, but
yeah,
I don't even know who's.
That's good. Yeah. Let's keep it like that. Keep the same energy up.
Don't get any focus. Don't get nosy.
Keep it anonymous. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna do it. I will know whose story is who.
Also,
you know, that's unavoidable. But what's that?
If you see the just chatting, like the word, or the you know the letters, the word.
Oh, this?
No, up top. Like that. Yeah. Can you delete that? Like with that?
No, it's part of the. It's part of the thing. Yeah,
Gotcha.
I tried, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. All right. Yeah, let's try and let's you know, keep it anonymous if we can, unless, you know, the person doesn't want to be. I mean, we can't really control that. But anyway, don't look. All right. So let's exit out of this story here. All right. Thank you very much for submitting that.
That was a strong start.
Yep. Okay.
Good job, whoever that was. Good job.
All right. I'm gonna mini me.
You'll read one word at a time.
Yeah, right. All right, guys, we are going to. Holy shit, that font is small. All right, we're gonna
just zoom in on the, like, click on the right. That and down there. Yeah. What do you do more?
No, I just didn't want to make it too big where it's like cutting off the side. What the fuck? All right, off the side of the screen here. Okay, wait. Let's try one more time. Oh, wait, I can just do that.
It. Yeah.
Oh, shit. Okay. Gigantic. Let's go.
Is that good, Grandpa?
We're old men. All right. Anyway. Let's get into the next story here. Let's do it. I'll read this one. So
cool.
All right. No title required up at the top on my end because we have it. It's called Awake and Alive. So I'm just gonna full screen this bad Larry real quick. And
I'm awake, I'm alive.
Is that a song?
Yeah. Okay. Kudos if that song was somehow inspiration for this. If not, listen to the song. This is dope.
Oh my god, bro. All right. Anyway, let's take a swig of Shinsu here. Y'all can't see it. But.
Yeah, you guys also can't see it, but we always get naked when we read these.
Yeah, we get our clothes on at the time this scene.
Yeah, no camera is opportunity to explore. New heights for the AoA show.
It just adds like that element of suspense because if the camera randomly switched at some point, you know, you're like buck naked, so you just gotta
nudity.
Yeah, so it elevates the senses.
In its purest form.
All right. Anyway, let's get into it. This one's called Awake and Alive. It might be impertinent to say this, but I've never really felt alive. Similar theme. Or is it more apt to say that I don't remember the last time that I really felt this alive? By the time I was able to think for myself, which I believe was much earlier than those of my age, I realized that nothing around me was exciting enough for me to live for. Everything that occurred around me seemed preordained. The world felt like an invisible cage to me. My memories begin sometime before I was 4 years old. Sometime around then, my parents decided to abandon me with my grandfather and leave our district. I never saw them again after that. Until date, I do not know what became of their fates. Where they went to or why are no longer concerns of mine. And with the world as it is now, I no longer have the leeway to hold such concerns anyway. I spent my early years helping my final living relative, my grandfather, with his farming. The days as they passed us by were dull but peaceful, and each day's monotonous routine was only broken by the stories he told me every night. Knights, adventurers, heroes, they held my rapt attention as he spoke of tales that sounded like they were from a world which I could never imagine then. Quote, "Are there people outside the walls?" I remember asking this question to him the very first time he told me a story. He looked away from me and didn't answer me. Why doesn't he answer me? What happened? Why is he silent? Eventually, as I grew up, I learned the answer to that question on my own. Life has a way of teaching you cruel truths as you grow. The outside world was desolate and devoid of all life. We are apparently the last living humans in the world. Everything and everyone else that walked our world were laid to waste by the Titans. Oh. Gigantic humanoid beings who preyed on us and decimated all of humanity until we ended up building the 3 walls which now protect us. Back then, I found it hard to believe that they were real. I believed them a lie, like the tales my grandfather told me. Maybe we were always like this and came up with something so ridiculous to justify our sloth. But I was soon proven wrong, and I witnessed for the first time my humanity was powerless in the face of the Titans. A returning unit of the Survey Corps pressed through our town. The carpenter across the street was more excited to see the scouts than us all. If my memory serves right, his nephew was a member of the scouts who joined them a year ago. His excitement soon turned into sorrow when they told him the youth died on the expedition. I still remember the shrieks of the man as he received the news. The town spat curses at the regiment as they passed them by. None dared attack them, but kept on insulting the already broken soldiers who returned to safety. This was when I discovered my disdain for the people who surrounded me. Here were a brave group of men and women who ventured out of the walls to unknown territory, to bring an undiscovered truth of the world outside, a world where anything could happen to them. Success and decimation were only separated by a thin line there, and yet, where they should be lauded for their bravery, they received insults and were vilified to no end. To the young me, whatever lay beyond the walls excited me much more than what lay inside, and the ones who ventured out there were more heroic to me than any others from the tales I heard before. But I was not the only one with such thoughts. Among the irate crowd, I spotted someone else for a passing moment, a face that was excited for the returning scouts and angry at the mob for how they treated the brave heroes. I believe that this was my very first contact with the boy who would become my closest friend, Aaron Yeager. I still took a few more years from then before I met him face to face. By that time, I had grown up and was much more distant from my younger cockiness. I no longer held a huge disdain for the people around me. The world was confined to this town and the walls which protected them. Mine lay beyond this wall and was filled with wonders they could never imagine. I told myself they would gladly do all they could to maintain their normalcy, but I would do all I can to escape mine. The world around me grew more colorless with each passing day, and I pined for something to break this monotony. The endless land which extended far beyond what my eye could see, the large pool of salt water with no end. I longed to see them all with my own eyes. Then one day, with a sudden thought, something changed in me. It was like a pail of cold water poured over the fire I treasured in my heart. A cruel realization dawned on me. There must have been many more dreamers like me. People who wanted to leave this town. People who wanted to know what lay beyond. Did they all achieve it? Did their dreams come true? And my mind filled in those new questions all on its own. No, they all failed. No one left this town. They all came to life, lived and died here, never venturing out and only dreamt, like me, of the outside. If anyone actually did, then we would all know about it. No way would someone who ventured out stay silent about it. If anyone saw something as miraculous as the endless land covered with sand with their own eyes, no way in hell would they keep quiet about it. It slowly dawned on me that this world isn't going to change despite my will. Someday, even I will die here in this land, I will never be able to see what's outside. Maybe my life is destined to be confined within these walls. No matter how much I dream, the cold reality will anchor me here and eat into my spirit. Looking back on it, I'm surprised that I ever was such a pessimist. Anyway, this depressing thought gnawed at me. Every fiber of my being was rendered null by it. I found that I could no longer maintain my will to live and began to become more and more withdrawn. I began to get beaten up and bullied more. But I no longer cared much for myself then. These fools who beat me because I'm different. Everyone. We were all destined to be born here and unceremoniously die here. Our lives were meaningless. It's a cycle of birth and death with no end in sight. The only solace that I found in this... The only solace that I found in this pit of hopelessness I drowned myself in was the company of Aaron. He saved me often from my bullies, only to get beaten up himself. He still believed in my old dreams. He still believed in the lands that lay outside. His eyes were still alive, while mine were not. And bit by bit, I will to face the world was slowly born in me. I had no other choice. I must live and find meaning with this life I have. This life within which I find no difference from being dead. I must fight and find a way to live, because I was born into this world. While I never outwardly showed it, I began to feel more alive, but never as I formerly were. A tiny glimpse of hope rose within me, like a seed that sprouted in harsh land. Maybe, just maybe, I'll leave this place. Maybe I'll find an escape. I began to look forward to such a day. The time I spent with Aaron and Mikasa began to bring me a semblance of optimism. My fighting will would not be stamped out. My fighting will would not be stamped out. If the world around me didn't want to break down its normalcy and venture out, then I would shatter it completely and force them out. I will make sure to provide them no choice but to seek what lay beyond, with me. They will finally see their folly and see the world within my dreams, a world of endless possibilities, a world that was truly alive. It was as if the universe responded to my unfulfilled dream on its own. The normalcy that this world treasured was obliterated. Every semblance of hopelessness within me was obliterated. The gate guarding the wall was obliterated. All it took was a bolt of lightning. Transcribed excerpts from the memoirs of Armin Arlert, I don't know, 104th Training Cadre Scouting Corps. Okay, interesting. So this is from... okay, so this is when he is in the Corps and he's looking back. Okay, 1 second. Whoa, okay, here we are. We are back with story number 2. Keeping this anonymous, there is a note at the end of this one. We can get back at the end of it once we do that. But if we keep it anonymous, I got your note. So thank you for that. Anyway, here we are. So character setting plot. So this is interesting, right? Because when the parameters were put out here, you know, Isaiah and I did have a fear that we're like, okay, because at first it was take a pre-existing anime character. And then some of you voiced concerns, you know, duly so, that they wanted to make their own. And like I said in the beginning, I wanted to see the difference between the two. But it does kind of make it a little different to grade in that sense, right? Because this is this is already a character that's there from a show, in this case, that we really like, right? So this will be different. And I want to confer with you here, Isaiah, how we want to grade this, right? So do we want to grade the character on being that obviously the main character here is Armin. Do we want to grade this on what, how this falls in line with who Armin is already based off his personality? Would Armin act like that, etc.? Or do we want to grade it as in almost just kind of taking it as its own thing? I don't know if you have thoughts. It does become a little difficult because we know the character, so it's kind of hard to separate that from your mind. But I'm curious to know what your thoughts on that were in terms of how we'd score it. Hang on. Sorry, go for it.
I think you muted me. I think you have to do the first one because you can't, like you said, you can't grading a character, a pre-established character, on the grounds of like, oh, how well was this? Like, there's already bias in that exactly, like, the characterization's already been done in your head. Like, who this character is and where they fit into this world. So I think you kind of just have to grade it, as odd as it sounds, like, like how well, like you were saying, like, oh, does this feel like Armin still?
Okay, yeah. So,
or does this feel like it's from Attack on Titan, or
Yeah, it makes sense, because going one way or the other, I guess that's the advantage of doing a story like this, is the fact that you already have a bit of an outline, right? In terms of like you're fitting within a box. You just have to, like the contexts within the box are just a little different. But obviously, there has to be a disadvantage with it, in that it's, hopefully you could capture the essence of the characters, right? Or the plot or the setting, etc. So, excuse me. That being said, let's give this a shot. Let's try and rank this here. So,
cool.
Yeah. So I guess starting with characters, obviously it's Armin, right? And based off what we just said, yeah, right? You're like, what? That wasn't Mikasa?
It's clearly Naruto.
Yeah,
What you talking about?
That was Sasuke.
Idiot.
So yeah, we kind of have to go off of like what we just said. How much does this embody Armin? So I thought this was an interesting spin that we had, right? So we were obviously pretty damn accurate with the events that happened within Armin's life. But the reasonings as to why Armin's, decides to pursue his dream of seeing the outside, it's never fully established within the story, I believe, as to I don't know what that turning point was. It seemed that the stories that he was told, and correct me if I'm wrong here, whether it have been from his grandfather or the books that he had seen or whatever, these like folk tales, that's what inspired him to go forward. Whereas it does inspire him, but that quickly gets snuffed out, at least in this story, when he's a young child, based off of the bleak reality of the world that they live in. So this for me was conflicting, because I guess I don't know. I think it's an interesting take on how Armin could have been beforehand. Salute. But I can't help but think that I don't know if this would be Armin's personality, right? And that's where I'm kind of hung up on this, and it's kind of hard for me to see Armin in this, this very depressive, nothing matters kind of nihilistic sense of life, until it's kind of kicked out of him by Eren. I don't know. What do you think on this? I'm having a hard time here.
Well, I guess that's sort of the point, though, right? Is to write Armin an origin story, but there was no stipulation that he has to be the same version of Armin that we know from the show. Because otherwise, you're writing the synopsis for Attack on Titan or for his character, which I could just pull the wiki on that. That wasn't.
Well, that's what I just asked you, though. I said, like, are we ranking it on how accurate they represent the ethos
No. Like,
of
does
the
it
character?
still feel like Armin? Like, I don't think it has to be happy and cheerful, I guess is what I'm saying, to still feel like Armin.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
I guess that's where I'm kind of.
Because I think there's more to Armin's character than just the fact that he is optimistic, right? There's a lot of introspection and insightful and critical analysis that goes into that Armin does in his own world that not a lot of characters do. A lot of characters in Attack on Titan, specifically speaking of the more the people that are involved in or live in the walls, it's very it's one or two. You know what I mean? There isn't a lot of room for like gray thinking, and there isn't a lot of room for like, oh well, maybe maybe we're not all right. Maybe this, you know what I mean? And Armin is always like, this still feels like Armin to me, because these feel like thoughts that Armin would have, the kind of thoughts Armin would have. It's just not, they spun it around. Instead of being like the optimist, it's, it's arguably like, because I think what's funny about Armin's optimism as a character is it's very, very like, that's the anime part of his character, because it's very rare. Like, not many people in that world would think like Armin thinks. It's very odd that he is able to hold on to that, because most people, sooner or later have sort of, denounced it and thrown it away, so to speak, or whatever. So I find this actually kind of interesting. This like, oh, what if, this is Armin, but like, not that this is probably what would have, but this is what believably would have happened, right? Like in a world like this, in a world like Attack on Titan, yeah.
So what would you rank on character? By the way, they said to read the end note here. Nobody could see this on here, but basically that the note reads, when you put out the notification of the short story competition, I immediately realized I had to make one about Armin. The idea was to write about Armin and his life before the events of, where we lead up to with AOT, SNK, Sheen, I don't know. Okay. The goal was to write about an aimless Armin, who felt like he was alive only when the wall was breached. Anyway, regardless if this wins or not, I truly hope you found enjoyment with this little attempt of mine. P.S. Continue watching 86. I won't. I probably have.
He could have not put his name and
yeah.
just put that.
We would have known exactly who it was. Anyway, your thoughts on the
Okay. So characters, setting, and plot. Characters, I have to give it a solid 4. Like I said, I really like this take on Armin. I don't know. Maybe this is just because like the bias in me is always like, this is something I always think about when it comes to anime. I'm always thinking about like, oh, like what if X character did this, or what if X character grew up like this, or thought like this, or whatever. So to see it, not visualized, but like, to see it put to paper, so to speak, and allowing me to visualize that is pretty cool. And also really well written, might I add. But yeah, so I'd have to say a 4 for character. I mean, setting, I'm also going to give it a 4. I feel like it's, it is it's the world of Attack on Titan, which is a really cool world to me. And then plot, I'll give it a 3.5.
Okay. Remember those numbers. So
Write them down right now.
So I could add them. Well, I was gonna do that. I was just doing the total. Yeah.
Okay.
On there. You remember them?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to add them. You just have to remember what you scored it.
Yeah.
Was all. Yeah. So I'm in a different boat when it comes to the character. That's just me, in my opinion. At the end, because I think there's something that's cool about putting Armin in this light. But at the end of the day, I personally have to find something to judge it off of. And if the criteria is being accurate to the character and representing the ethos of what makes Armin, I actually disagree. I don't think that and the argument isn't just that Armin's an optimist, because I actually don't even think that he's fully an optimist. I actually think that he was kind of maybe not pessimistic, but definitely not like, we're going to do this. Absolutely. From the jump, I think it goes deeper than that. When I say it, I do feel like the ethos of this character, I I feel like it's not. I feel like it's not necessarily always more. Oh, because characters feel shittier about the situation, or they're in this nihilistic mindset, or like things that happen, that automatically makes it a more realistic feel. I don't think that Armin choosing to have this goal, aspiration, and dream is unrealistic, and that's like the anime part of it. I think that can happen just in general. Like, people interpret situations that happen to them differently, right? That's why it's, you know, the adage, the age-old saying is, you can't change what happens to you, but you can change how you respond to it. And this isn't just like some, you know, some self-help pep session to be like, have a better attitude. That's what Armin would do. That's not necessarily it. Like I said, he's gone through a lot of trials and tribulations, but I do feel like the essence of Armin, at least the way I see it within the show, what makes Armin a standout, besides, you know, all the surface level shit like his intellect and all that kind of stuff, is the fact that he has this light within his soul that is very hard to extinguish, but not in a way like Eren Yeager, where it's like, I have to fight for freedom. In a way that it's like, there is something beyond this. We can like, this is something that can be obtained, and this is, you know, this is the dream I have, but while I'm doing it, I'm not going to I'm gonna have a heart, you know what I mean, while doing it. So I think that this shows that Armin definitely is bogged down in this prior state due to the events that have happened within, you know, he feels depressed, which can happen, but I don't think to me that he would resort to, you know, thinking of the situation as absolutely hopeless, or the people that surround him within the walls as like these, just, you know, for lack of a better term, these like drones, you know what I mean? That it's like, nobody knows shit. Like, this isn't gonna happen. There's no way type thing. That's just the way I see Armin as a character. So that, you know, that's my opinion at the end of the day there. So I'm gonna go with a 2.5 on character here. In terms of setting, I thought that you did a really good job at producing the setting, and I think that's just through the well-written aspect of this. The fact that there were, and I apologize for stuttering some of the times during it, and my screen is like a full 3 feet away, so I'm like trying to, but I think that part, that was probably the standout part for me, was the setting, because we all know the setting of Attack on Titan, but you did a good job at immersing me in the world and the mindset of Armin, and even before we knew it was Armin and all that kind of stuff, and we could, from context clues, put together that this is the world of Attack on Titan. But I even think that somebody who had never watched the show of Attack on Titan and had read this and then hopped into it, like, this would have been a damn accurate representation of the world that they live in, and beautifully put through the, like, his, you know, introspection into his mind. So that one I'm gonna give a 5 for setting. And then for plot, at the end of the day, it kind of ties into the whole, you know, Armin making this flip at the end of the day, but I guess just for different reasons, which is nice. So I'm going to go ahead and give that one a 3.5 at the end of the day. So anyway, so for characters, you gave that one a 4, I believe. Okay. Setting, you gave a what?
3.5. No.
You had one job.
You went on a fucking monologue and I forgot.
You did the first time too, so I was just explaining my thoughts. Thank you. As he was 4-4.
Oh, it was 4.
Okay, so 9.
Oh, I think 3.5 was the last one. That's what I was getting messed up on.
quick maths. 9 plus 7 is 16. So 22.5. 2.5. Boom.
Oh, the same one.
The same. Wow, that's kind of crazy. Wow. Actually, at the end of the day. Okay. All right. Anyway. All right. Give me 1 second here. Let me put this into a reasonable spot here. I think this. What the font to 24. So I will do my best here. Okay. Let me know if this is readable. I guess here. That's kind of crazy that those ended up in a tie because that like legit like that was just like random numbers all around, which is kind of crazy. Okay, cool. So, all right, we're gonna get into the next story in a minute. What do you guys all think of the story so far? Any thoughts on it? So we had some people going off in chat before. Also, thank you to everyone who had joined and hung out with us so far, is hanging out. I know some of you said hi. Hello. It's just in the middle of the story and then ranking and all that kind of stuff. Just want to make sure that we were saying what's up to everyone. So that's there. Yeah. And then put this one there. Okay. And then we're gonna do this. Okay, cool. Good to go. So we have story 1 complete. Story 2. Story 1 was Strike Me Down. Story 2, Awake and Alive. And they tied. So it's going to be pretty cool to get into these next ones here. I'm actually going to do this. He said it's from Skillet, I think.
Oh, yeah. Damn, I haven't heard that shit in forever.
I bet. All right, cool. So let's get into this next story here. Let me just pull it up real quick. Oh no, this one was a downloadable thingy. Yeah, we're gonna close these tabs here. Get rid of this Microsoft Edge BS. Is that good enough for you to read, by the way? Like font-wise? Or do you need it a little bigger?
Zoom in a little bit. Okay.
I think that's like the cap anyway.
Oh, you know what?
Actually,
Zoom
no.
back out one.
Yeah.
It'll.
Whoops. Oh, because it goes by 50%.
Oh,
yeah, whatever. Well, I guess we're stuck with that. Okay. Yeah. Boom.
Grind.
All right.
Oh, press that X at the top there.
Here?
Yeah.
It's just going to close out of the browser, I think.
Oh, really? That's not for that Microsoft Edge notification?
Great question. Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
no,
okay.
it's not.
Yeah, no, I got it. I didn't. Okay, now I gotta. Now that thing's gotta go away. Okay. Sure. Boom. Okay. Cool beans. Let's do this. Story 3 will be read by Isaiah. Prepare your ears, ladies and gentlemen, because they're about to be serenaded with a beautiful voice. Let's do this.
What? No, I'm kidding. The new ones. Let us peer into the future. The year is 4794. Our current location is a secret government facility deep inside the Earth's crust known as Phoenix. This facility, which totaled 45 rooms is run by a covert military branch called Dawn. The person in command of this branch was Alistair Windsor, who oversaw the work in all 45 rooms within the facility. Inside one of these rooms, there was a group of 15 soldier trainees preparing to embark on their first training exercise since turning 12. At the center of the room was a deep pit with a metal coating line in with a platform around 10 feet in diameter surrounding the top of the opening. Today is no ordinary training day. It is their first training day after having their DNA modified and enhanced. Oh, jeez. All 15 trainees were grouped together and wearing a suit that was an opaque black, glowing dimly in a poorly lit room. We are here to follow two of those adolescents in particular and tell you the first of many events to come in their yet short lives that would shape them into what they would become in the future. Lucas Nico and Hunter Dwight. Lucas was relatively short, appearing more lean than the other trainees, with thick, dark brown hair that extended down below his ears and green eyes. Hunter was more bulky and came in a bit taller than his fellow trainee beside him. He has long black hair that's thin, coming down past his shoulders, and bright blue eyes. Hunter's eyes shifted around the room, noticing a collection of computer monitors and people typing away furiously in the corner, analyzing some weird data that was difficult to make out. Mumbling a bit under his breath as his eyes lock in a specific monitor with a weird depiction of a small multicell organism. Operation Dawn. Operation what? Lucas pondered to himself, if overhearing his fellow trainee before first looking towards Hunter, then the screen the young man was fixated on. Ignoring his fellow classmate and turning towards the massive pit in the center of the room, feeling a measurable temperature difference in the air coming from that direction. What's your name, kid? A bit taken aback by the sudden attempt to communicate. Are you talking to me? Who do you think I'm talking to? Stating as a matter of fact. I'm Lucas, from class Omina. Lucas. I'm Hunter. Does anything in here look suspicious to you? Taking a moment to take in a breath before responding. You know, the most suspicious thing here is you right now. Hunter's eyes shifted from his classmates to the entrance of the room as it opens. 3 figures walk through the door. The first is Alistair, the commander. He was a lanky man who towered above others, muscular, hairy to boot, and wearing a dark gray suit. The second, a toned and muscle-bound woman with horizontal irises and skin that seemingly gleamed as if coated in a light oil. She wore a jet black suit with oily, thin black hair that dropped halfway down her back. The third was a lumbering man, easily dwarfing everyone else in the room, wearing a white suit with golden trim. He had rather large pupils with eyes that jutted out from his eye sockets a bit, scale-like skin while rocking the side hawk, which dripped over from the right side of his skull, appearing gray in color. The atmosphere of the room changed entirely upon their entry, as all the trainees were focused on the 3 well-dressed arrivals. Alexandria Lindquist was the name given to the students for the female, and the lumbering man was known as Jacoby Kingston. They would be introduced to the group with little emphasis on their status or their purpose in being present during a very brief debriefing process. Their goal was to mine for metals in the Earth's mantle, and a short time after the entrance of the commander and his guest, the 15 trainees stood up upon a platform that would take them down to the surface of the Earth's mantle. As the platform descends deeper into the crust of the planet, there is mostly silence, save for the sound of the technology at work. The trainees begin to feel a pressure weigh down upon them, their legs starting to tremble as their own body weight slowly starts to feel greater than it actually is. Wincing and grunting as they try to maintain an upright position, Hunter and Lucas, along with their other classmates, abruptly buckle under the pressure, planting face first against the platform as it now rockets down to the mantle at increasing speeds. The 3 adults present, who have already been enhanced many years, now seem completely impervious to the force that dropped the trainees. Upon the end of the descent, Alistair looked down to the potential soldiers with a blank, disconnected stare that sent chills down the adolescent spines. From the ashes of the phoenix, so shall the new ones rise. Almost instantly after speaking these words, all of the soldier hopefuls began to convulse wildly, their skin becoming more translucent and clumping together in large cellular bodies. Their initial screams becoming strained as their bodies are morphing at an increasing rate, not holding a single form for long and looking more like a gelatinous mass of cells. Their consciousness never fading the entire time during the process as their bodies were reshaped. The three enhanced ones stood by watching intently. Alexandria sneered, looking down at what really amounted to a mass of cells at their feet before glaring at Alistair. Why are these green horns getting this honor? Alexa, knock it off. We had this discussion at the summit in Samasa. Jacoby interjected himself. Do you think you are more wise than the Summation Council? That's bold, even for you, Alistair proclaimed. Listen here, asshole. You're not above reproach just because you lead this little project for the council, she harshly exclaimed. Now, there is no need for such hostility. Today is a beautiful day. It's the dawn of a new era. We are witnessing the birth of the new ones, which shall lead us to even greater heights than we could have ever reached without the aid of the dawn. The commander gleefully smiled throughout. The massive cells began to take shape finally, becoming more solid and dense. The sound of tendons and muscle stretching, bones cracking as they form. Not long thereafter, the screams of the trainees would fill the area. Hunter, forming the fastest out of all of them, looked the most put together before the wings, much like that found on a bat, sprung from his back, with blood shooting out of him and coating his new appendages. With the young man's body starting to become covered in a light fur, as well as his eyes lock onto Lucas, who was starting to take a more noticeable shape. His muscles were clearly more toned and densely packed in the legs as they came into form. Lucas yelled out as his back was blown out, where his shoulder blades were, formed as they were replaced with eagle-like wings, much larger than his own body size. A pool of blood forming around him as his nerves calmed down. At the moment, the other 13 candidate cells simply didn't reform, and the cell masses of them separated suddenly before evaporating into thin air. The commander looked stunned for a brief moment before recovering his composure, looking to Jacoby and Alexandria. You two, it is your responsibility to take these 2 trainees to Samasa. Inform the council that the operation was a negligible result, clearly giving a command. Alexandria glared at the 2 young kids on the ground, reluctantly picking up Hunter by his midsection, while Jacoby would hoist Lucas up on his back, both boys unconscious from their transformation. Listen to me, Alistair. The council won't be happy with these results. We don't need more pets. We need a new hope. Nothing more pertinent transpired after this conversation, and Alexandria, along with Jacoby, began their journey to transport the 2 boys to Samasa. What is Samasa? Who is this council? And what are these new ones that Phoenix are trying to create? What's going to happen to these 2 still naive youths? Look for the release of a larger story and all the answers in the near future. This is the dawn of the new ones.
Okay. Going into just chatting. So that was interesting for sure. That was really cool. Again, that was called The New Ones. Thank you for submitting it. We're going to get into some of the rankings. What did you think? What were your impressions?
I liked it. It was cool. Little, this was written like a lot of the books that I remember reading in school. And that's not an insult. That's a compliment because it just came off very like, wow, that feels like a book I would have grabbed off the shelf. So very like just, structurally, with the word, I mean, I read like an idiot, but like the way this person put the words together and stuff is very good. Very, I liked it.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked it too. I mirror a lot of those thoughts where it's like, as soon as we got into it, I'm like, okay, this is very reminiscent of like, you know, if you read 1984 and it's like the beginning of when they're describing, you know what I mean? Like the current world that they are in, there was a lot of description within it, which you can tell a lot of times with like some of the books, the novels, all that kind of thing. That's something that seems they're doing a good job, to not talk in circles here, of bringing you into that world by describing things down to the what is it, like the liquid metal lining or whatever, the metal coating lining in the platform around the 10 feet. The fact that, you know, we are very specific with what this is called. Person in command, everyone had a first and a last name, right? The main characters, what was it, Lucas and Hunter, right? Lucas, yeah, Nico and Hunter, were given like a brief, you know, explanation on like their stature, what they were in proportion to each other, etc. Everything was described in the opening right here, down to the most minute detail, and that really does a good job, especially when you're trying to pull someone into a story, in my opinion, to you know, really does a good job of pulling somebody into that world, right? And being like, okay, like I could imagine this, because that's kind of the point of a book, you know, a lot of times of telling a story is being able to put the audience member, the reader, into that world and be like, I can see this makes sense. So I think that was definitely something working in its favor for sure. And I don't know if you are literally writing more of this, but I think this was a cool start, and it was definitely an attention grabber for sure. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed it. So getting into the rankings here, if you got anything on characters or any thoughts.
Characters, I would probably give a 3.
Okay.
I liked them. I mean, I definitely know, like I could tell you what they look like, and I think the description of like who they are is very good, but I don't know like a lot about any of the characters.
Sure.
And you know, fair enough. This story clearly there was more emphasis put on explaining to you the circumstance that everybody's in and the world. But I still don't know anything about the characters mainly. So I don't like I'm more let's put it this way, I'm more interested in the world than any of the characters that we read about.
Sure.
And that's not to knock any of the character. Like I said, it was very like the writing and stuff was very descriptive. So I'd do 3 for characters. Setting, I would say setting I'd give a solid 4. I really, like I said, that's probably I think the descriptive writing lent itself the best to that, in my opinion, because like I said, so this was like structured very, you know, very traditional, like how you would write a book, right? So there's you know, there's exposition, info, setting, you know, the scene and stuff, and then there's characters' thoughts, and then character dialogue, right? All of that is like structured, you know, again, pretty traditionally how a normal story would. So I think that, but in my opinion, that kind of writing lends itself best to like scene setting and like, you know, getting an idea of what the setting is, because that's really all. That's what happens there, right? A lot of the like character interaction stuff, you kind of end up filling in. Like, you know, there can be instances where like the story will tell you what somebody said or how they said it, but for the most part, like a lot of that is like you sort of interjecting and filling that in, you know, with your own experiences and whatnot.
Yeah.
So this one, like I said, solid 4. This was definitely the strongest point for me personally, because I think you know, just with how descriptive this person was with the writing, like it really lent itself well to, like you were saying, like getting very specific about like the cold steel bars that are that line like the platform, or you know, I forget everything now, but you know, so yeah, definitely that one I really liked. And then the plot, I'd have to also give it a, well, not also, a 2.5, I think.
Okay.
Because I think that most of that is personal bias. I wasn't super. I'm more. This feels like a book that I'd be like, okay, I'll wait till they've got like, well, actually, if it's a book, I'm assuming like the whole thing would be out. And I'm thinking like manga, like, oh, wait till a few chapters are out. Let's put it this way: if I got this just as like a demo piece, I don't actually know if I would like wait for the book to come out. You know what I mean? Where it's like if somebody just handed me the book, I'd be like, oh, okay, I'll hop into it right now, just off the plot. I'm sorry. That's how I should phrase this. If somebody told me the plot of this just by itself, I probably wouldn't be that interested in checking out. But like if you gave me all of this, like this little, this prelude, whatever you want to call it, I might check it out.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, by the way, for keeping the rankings on here, just in case, so nobody forgets what you play. Yeah, I'll probably ask you that again. Thank you. Yeah, I really like this story a lot, I have to admit. I think I would agree with you in terms of characters, where I think that the points in your favor going towards this are that I at least get a good description of the physical attributes of these characters, and we get a little bit of their personality based off the small amount of dialogue that we get. Again, characters doesn't just include your main character, although that is the one that I'm probably trying to look most towards, but it is technically characters, which is plural, which means any character that takes place within the origin story, right? So I did really like how I could, in my mind, really easily delineate between and differentiate the three big bosses who came in, between the female and the two males, who genuinely was in charge amongst the three of them, how her personality was towards like the big oaf guy, and how his, or not oaf, but the big guy, and how his personality was there. I didn't get too much of that between the main characters. And again, this is like the catch, you know what I'm saying? This is like a super short story, so I'm not expecting there to be a lot of dialogue. There has to be a lot shrouded in mystery. So I think characters for me is probably the hardest one for people to nail. And sure. It's, and it's like, hard. Yeah, it's very hard. And you know what I mean? Like I couldn't do what you guys, like it's impressive. So, take it with a grain of salt. It's very difficult to flesh. I'd be very surprised if I gave somebody like a 5 on character, because it's like they completely flesh him out. I understand their motivation, this, that, and the third, without it being even probably longer than this, right, as the story. So it's very tough. But like I said, at least the aesthetic of the characters and a little bit of their personality was interjected, and I felt like I could differentiate them very easily, which is something that goes in his favor. I don't feel like it's just this mix mash and this amalgamation. So for that, I would agree. I'd give it a 3 there. In terms of the setting, I'm giving a 5 straight up. That would, like, I genuinely was like, I felt like I was in this world. Like I genuinely felt like, down to everything, the way it was described made me really envision myself within this. I felt like I was on the platform. I felt like I saw the people coming in, right, to conduct the tests. Like I knew who the test subjects were, at least the main ones between Matt and Lucas, right, or Hunter and Lucas. I don't know. I felt like I was genuinely in that world. I felt like when they were being experimented on and those things were happening, it was like I could imagine how that would have looked and how just, discontent the people would have were. I could see the coldness of the area that they're in. Like the whole thing seemed like I could just easily insert myself into that story. And so for that reason, I think the setting was on point. I would give that one a 5, 100%. In terms of the plot, I like the plot personally. Again, there's, you kind of have to keep it open, right? Because we can't spoil too much, right? This is like the hook, right? To grab people in the story. But I found myself genuinely curious as to what it was, especially at the end, because I was like, oh, okay, it looks like there were 2 successful cases out of the 15. And I was like, okay, well, are they upset that it's only 2? Should there have been 15 out of the 15 children had transformed? Or was it that, the the two that did transformed into something that was suboptimal according to, in terms of the bosses and stuff like that. I thought it opened up the door, kind of like the first story with the plot. I believe I gave 5 for the first one on plot. And again, it was like, I can see my mind going to places of like, oh, well, why was that a failure? Are they considered failures? And now we follow their story as 2 experiments that had, not been the pinnacle, and they have to go through whatever they have to go through. Are they the pinnacle, right? Like, where does this go from here? There's a lot open to interpretation. And, that's something that I really hopped on board with. I would have to say that I'd probably I'm going to give that a 4.5 for that one, because I was pretty in on this for as short of a story as it was. And, it wasn't much to go off of, and it gave enough though for me to think like, oh, this could be interesting going forward. So yeah, I'm going to give it a 4.5. So anyway, if anyone remembers what the hell we just said, if we could add these up, that would be fantastic. Thank you very much. Fire Potato on point. We love you. Give me 1 second. I'm going to get this
I just wanted to say thank you, by the way, to Ozzy Sensei, who says they love my hair. Thank you, because I didn't do anything to it. So it's the best compliment to get.
Okay. Let's see. So we have the new ones. So we have characters. Was a grand total. We both gave it a 3. Both gave it a 3 there. Sorry, trying to get my head in the mic here.
So mine was 3, 4, and 2.5. And then I don't remember what yours were.
Okay,
look, I can't listen to you talk.
Setting was, you said 4 was yours. Mine was 5, I believe, on that
that's
one.
why. Because she's on Twitch, but I only had YouTube up.
Oh, okay.
I saw her chats in the actual stream. And that's what you have up.
Plot, I give a 4.5. You give a 2.5. So that is 5. That's 7. All right. So tally on this one. We have a 6, a 9. And a 7 here for a total of 6 plus 7, 13 plus 9 is 22. 22 is the total score here.
We're getting mad.
Yeah, it's like so close. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I think
22.
this one's going to come in first. I gave this one some pretty high rankings, and then I look and I'm like, oh, like, that just, whatever. Anyway. My bad. So yeah, so here we go. So that's gonna be a 22 in
being too nice.
total, probably.
What's happening here?
Yeah, and we could go off of what have I done? All right, and again, take these rankings with a grain of salt here. It's really just anyone who submitted a story. We could go through chat and see what, whichever ones you liked. But these were all very good so far. Definitely like them. So.
Yeah,
all right.
Unless it's my opinion, which is law.
Yeah.
If you think differently, you can. You're just wrong.
Okay.
Which is unfortunate, but the world is not a fair place, as I echoed earlier in the stream. See? Moving lessons back into the... Welcome. Now pay me.
Pay me. All right. Let's maximize this one here. Let's put this bad Larry.
And yes, I will only accept payment in chicken nuggies.
Chicken nuggies. Put this.
I want your filthy money.
But why is this so large and up here? Whatever.
Why is this so fat and in my face?
Alrighty then.
Could you full screen the dock?
I did, I think, right?
Oh.
I don't know. Let me
Is
see.
that not? Oh, that was full screen? I thought normally when you like full screen it, like that, like this whole top thing.
Is there a way to get rid of this shit? Let's see.
I
View.
thought full screening was. Wait, go to click fit. No, never mind.
Oh.
Because that would just. Wait, this is full screen right now?
No, I took it out of full
okay.
screen.
Full screen it? Can you still zoom once you're in full screen?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is that what you were doing? Oh, it doesn't. Oh.
Yeah, that's about as good as we can get here.
I totally, for some reason, I
Alright.
always thought that it got rid of that top bar or whatever too. I guess not. Shit.
Doesn't even let me go any more than that. Google's like, nah, fam. All right. Anyway, so we have this one up. We're gonna get into the last story in just a second here. But I'm gonna use the bathroom real quick, so I'll be right back before I read it.
Dang. Ian's had too much Shinsu intake. He's gonna have to expel some of his aura, or whatever it is. I don't actually think they call it aura. I don't know what they call it. How y'all doing? What's going on here? What's going on here? Huh? What do we think of these stories? This has been a blast. This has been really fun. This is really cool. I like this a lot. Again, first off, shout out to all 4 people who wrote stories, who sent in stories, because this is something this is something that I was never good at, like when I had to do it, like way back in school. But I love, like, I just love reading these stories. I love, like, hearing about, you know, these different kinds of worlds that you guys put together. So yeah, this is really cool. I definitely want to do, you know, we definitely want to do more stuff like this, you know, whether it be, you know, like we were saying before at the beginning of the stream, whether it's like, you know, we might change the format a little bit of how we do it. But, you know, or rather like the format in how you're given like the topic or prompt to write about. But, you know, the topic will be a little bit more free, you know, so that it's not so restrictive. But yeah. Had such a blast doing this. Awesome. You know what? That's all that really matters, is that you had a good time doing it and you have a good time reading it. It's a cycle. It's a never-ending cycle. To give, you give, you give, and you get. We're all winners. Thank you, On. Yes. Everybody here is a winner. Everybody. Everybody's a winner. Beautiful. Beautiful-ish. Just to let you know, the story I'm making, which my entry was tied to, is meant to be a manga and then an anime. Oh, like dead ass? Like, that's like for real? I will participate in any and all contests you have. Cool. That sounds fantastic. Good practice. Invaluable feat. Yeah, that's the other thing. And like some of these things, like, you know, there is at the end of the day, you know, a little bit of subjectivity tied into it, like right into our scoring. Like, you know, if I or Ian at the end of the day, if we're like, like, you know, plot is like a 4 or a 3, like that doesn't, it, you know, and we usually will give our reasoning, but it's usually not always like it was bad, right? Like you could write your story could have a really good setting for the plot, but like Ian or I were just like, doesn't really appeal to me. But that doesn't mean it's bad by any means. So, unless it's bad.
This is like real bad.
You should feel me, Smalsh.
Y'all feel? Okay. So, we ready to get into this last story here?
Hells yeah.
Okay.
This one even has a picture, which, you know, for folk like me who like our pictures with our stories, this right up my alley.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so just getting my mouse here. This one is called 1 of 4. So this picture looks to be a map of the area, which is pretty cool. It says Franz, Limps, Plains. What is that? Knights with a K? Something pole, or is that upside down? Loomis or whatever. I don't know if it's just like gibberish. One of them says can't spoil and then corpse maybe or corp. Cold waters. And then there's wow, this is amazing. I love this picture. This is fantastic. Talk about getting to be immersed in the world. All right, here we are. They're like, this has nothing to do with the world. All right. Anyway, it's just a map I drew. I hope you guys like it. Okay, 1 of 4. Lands. The wind blows as the sun pierces through the clouds. 2 boys walk up to the deceased tree. Its branches bare and naked. It branches bare and naked its leaves, which it held tightly to skinny and dry on ground. It's finally time, huh? There's a long pause. Finally, the boy removes his baggy hoodie. I guess so. It's going to keep getting colder, especially in Run Hill. He gave a nervous laugh. The 2 boys took off their baggy coats and hung them on the tree. They looked to the sun and to the other one and said, I bet they're going to pick me. Don't think so, Maddie? Who knows? They might end up picking Ty. He gives him 2 taps on the shoulder. A chunk of snow from the tree falls on Maddie, and they laugh with masks of despair. The other boy gets up. Speaking of Ty, where is he? Probably playing with Perko and the others and annoying them to no end. Maddie scrubs the snow off. My aunt always says don't do blah, blah, blah because Sinmi will eat you if you do that. He impersonated Ty. The sun was gone, and the cold came. The snow came. The reality came. A cold reality. Man, I was hoping to be outside for a bit longer. The boy grabs his coat, which was twice his size, brown and hefty. Anyways, Pazzo, we probably better go with them. Perko isn't exactly the most responsible person for his age. Maddie puts on his gloves. I just don't want Mr. Leo to yell at us again, says Pazzo, scrambling to find his gloves. Rock. In the mountains of blood and spies, 4 boys and 1 girl carry buckets of water, both on each side of a pole, and each person carries their burden. A dark-haired boy speeds up and spills little water here and there in his ignorance. See, I'm strong, aren't I? His green eyes sparkle with joy. The only thing you are, Photok, is an idiot, says a blond boy sweating and struggling to carry the water. Photok's smile dissipates and ponders what he can do differently to show the others. He could hear their whispers and complaints of being stuck with him. Breaths keep getting louder. Each step made their legs more fragile. The crushing sounds of rocks below them reminded them of the distance they have to go. The girl's brown eyes darted to find rest and comfort. Guy, let's stop here for a moment. I just need to catch my breath. Everyone nods in agreement and waddles their way under a large green tree and grass green as the eyes of Photok. The others sit together and Photok smiles, beginning to walk towards them only to receive looks of distaste. He puts his pole on the ground, which both buckets were now half filled, and sat by himself. Jeez, I'd rather go all the way to the cold waters instead of doing this crap, the girl screamed. Quit bitching, Leo. No one wants to hear it, says a boy wearing torn shorts and a hat which resembles a beak and patterned with lines of brown and black. A timid voice from a boy with buck teeth and ears as sharp as a knife. I'd like to hear you, Leao. Of course you would, Lemia, said the blonde boy. Why are you always such a dick? Jeez, all of you shut up. I'm trying to sleep. Lemia, why are you even trying? You barely got a chance with a girl from the Hiddens. The boy furiously covers his face with his hat. Now, shut up! Lemia is shaken for a minute and then smiles. I do have a chance. I just don't try because I don't want to force anyone to like me. Quit trying to act so honorable. You know when those ships from the Hiddens come, if you get the chance, you'll latch yourself onto those girls, says the blonde boy. I believe you, Lemia, Photok smiles. Thanks, man. See, Leao. Am I not a nice guy or what? I don't care. Every one of you will just grow up to be like them. She pauses for a second to look up. You'll just force yourself on every one of those girls. The silence falls on as the night comes. 2 men start coming down from the hill. Well, that's how trade works. We give them what they want, They give us what we need, says the blonde. You're sick. You know that? Leao lashes back. Photok notices the two men coming, and he squints to get a better look at who they are. Then he saw it. A badge of a dagger and a spear crossed each other. Even in the night, he could still see it. He ran right up without caring for the others. He smiled with joy and sprang into happiness. Mister, it's me. The man towered over her, who wore a robe-like dress split in two at the bottom with blue and dark blue. He had a beard, and his hair was pulled back and made into a bun. On his lap was a dagger in its sheath. His green eyes met with Photok's, and he spoke. You again? So can I join? Please? No. The others noticed the two men and walked up to them, and Photok while the boy with the hat remained asleep. Why not? Cried Photok. Do you even know why the dagger men exist? Said the man. To kill our enemies, because they're the branch who do it. The man looked sternly. Tell me what is the purpose of each branch. Photok thinks and smiles, and finally answers. The ICA spy on people, and the CGM controls people and has other parts that control things. The GCDA keeps us safe, and the dagger men kill all of our enemies. Is that what they tell you in school? The man squats down and moves the sides of his robe aside. No, I read it. You forgot one more branch, and the branches are far more complicated than that. But you do know your stuff. Thanks, mister. Now can I join? Why are you so eager to join? It's cool. The dagger men are not meant to be cool, boy. But they are. 2 years ago, our school was under attack. We would have died if we weren't for the dagger men. He came in and cut the enemy down. I saw it through the windows. The man looks back at the other who was next to him. The other kids who were with Photok finally got to where he was, and they looked at the strangers they saw before them. Photok, what are you doing? Hey, Leao. Didn't know you guys followed me. Are you a dagger man? Asked the blonde. What are the kids doing in the woods at this hour? The other man inquired. It was our turn to get water, but we took too long. Has the blonde gave Leao and Photok a look? Anyways, boy, when you saw that man get killed, what did you think? The man now stood up. He's our enemy, so he got what he deserved. And what else? Nothing, really, just that the man chuckled and his face switched to that of fury. His companion looked in concern. You may have the steel heart to see it, but what would you have done to that man if you had a dagger? He pulls a snake-like dagger out, which was sharper than Lemia's ears and could cut through the night. I would have killed him. With a frustrated voice, the man began to speak. Then how about this? You are in a room, and you have an enemy who is going to kill 30 people in that room with a crystal ice bomb he stole. And now the enemy is begging for their life. Your friend over there with the weird teeth is fighting outside the room for his life. The enemy you are about to kill is a person who cares for their family and would do anything for their family. Should you kill them or not? You have 5 seconds. 1, Photok was caught off guard. 2, 3, 4, 5. The man looked Photok straight in his eyes with eyes full of fury and sadness. His eyes were gleaming with tears that were being held back. You just doomed 30 people, and you doomed yourself. He turned around and put his dagger back. The enemy is willing to do anything for his family. Their people. Were you? Sir Garuk. We should get going, says the other man. The two men walk into the night as Photok is left in shock. Lemez. A girl prepares to be shipped off to the continent of fog in the land of rock. End.
Okay.
All right. Let's get some slow claps here. Let's go. Nice job. Thank you very much for submitting.
Thank you.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. So yeah, initial impressions here. What do we think, chat, and just us in general? Definitely a multifaceted story, which definitely makes sense why we have the map here now. It's all coming together. I can't tell which one is which because we had lands, we had rock, and then we had Lemez.
Oh, yeah.
Which now that I'm trying to look, it looks like Lemez is up in the top left corner here.
And then
I
think Rock is over, like over in the. No, wait, hold
I
on.
see Lands in the bottom left
Lands is-
corner.
Yeah, Lands is there.
Yeah, Lemez and then Rock. I'm looking for Rock. Can I get a Rock? Bueller. Oh, there. It's the second one. It's just super hard to see. It's like it's
Where?
the middle one, the second one in next to Demyes or whatever.
With that green writing on top.
It has like green sprinkled on it. Yeah, but it says Rock. Excuse
Oh.
me. And what looks like pencil or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got you.
So anonymous hamster looks like they're in the thing. So yeah, that makes sense now as we have the map, and now it makes sense as can't spoil here. Because I don't know if this is like the land of fog or something.
Probably gonna be a new. Yeah.
So yeah, interesting shit for sure. It was pretty cool. And now I see why it's all coming together here. Like I said, very like multifaceted thing, like Game of Thrones style shit, where it's like it looks like we're covering multiple characters, for sure here. So I don't know, grading. If we got anything, I mean, in terms of, I'll just come out and say it for starters. I thought the setting was pretty cool. I will admit, and maybe this is just because my brain is small, but I was a little. It's like it's a double-edged sword when you have so many characters to work with and so many areas to work with, and it seems like there's going to be these different storylines going through. It's very cool, but that there's one thing about that, and that it's usually those sorts of stories, in my personal experience, are very slow to start, right? And then they kind of flesh out, and you get all these different perspectives. And take like Game of Thrones, like the first season is like pretty, slow moving. We're getting introduced to a lot of these people, and then it kind of explodes, and you kind of it's established who everyone is, what their motivations are, and now we can follow them. And now when we are jumping from scene to scene, it makes way more sense. Where in the beginning, it takes some time. So again, this is maybe just on me, but I did find myself, not lost per se. I knew where we were and what was going on, but definitely kind of a little discombobulated, just overall, just because it wasn't. There's an overarching thing here. It wasn't grounded, but that's okay. Like I said, it's a double-edged sword, because the positive to that is that you have this very robust world with a lot of characters, and if you could write them well, we have a lot of people that we could root for, that we could hate, etc. It does just become difficult when it's the very beginning of a story, though, to be able to flesh that out. I wouldn't expect you to be able to. It's like kind of, like a bite off more than you can chew type thing. So for that reason, I really am not even sure who our main character is, what the origin story is, kind of keeping to what we were saying before in terms of the parameters. The characters themselves were, kind of had some personality to them in terms of the kids, especially on the second island, I believe, there on Rock. And then it seems like the guy who wields the dagger, had to basically sacrifice his brother or something like that, or whatever the case might be. He had to make a decision that was very tough, and we don't know exactly what decision he made, right? Maybe he hesitated as well, and I don't know. There's a lot to be cracked open there. But anyway, with that being said, I think I would give the setting. I would give the setting a solid 4. Like I said, the map actually really helps now to put things in perspective. I could imagine these different children or these different groups of people on these different islands or continents or whatever, and see and kind of get like an idea of what they are. The one place seems very snow ridden with and then rock obviously off the sides of the mountain, and then all that kind of stuff. And it seems like some of these characters are like, there's some tragedy in here where it seems like there's the selling of slaves or sex slaves, or I don't even know, but it's like the setting is pretty in depth for sure. I would say I'd give it a 4 there. Like I said, the characters themselves, I'm gonna go with I think I'm gonna go with I'll go with a 3. I think it was very ambitious of you to incorporate so many characters within the origin story here. And I did appreciate, like I said, kind of like in the last story, how we got a little bit of insight into who these characters were, at least for a second. I will say, detractors, that for me, again, this is probably just a me thing, but I feel like there were quite a bit of them to just, as an origin story, to be able to hop on board with all of them. The ones I really gave a shit about, if I'm being frank, were the ones on Rock, like the kids there and the story with the guy with the dagger, like the guys in the beginning, the kids with the by the snow tree and stuff, I kind of forgot about. And then obviously, the last girl is just for like a sentence there, but I think that kind of kept me guessing a little too much. So I think I'd give it a solid 3 there. And then in terms of plot, I would say that we're probably rocking, I'm going to say, I'll go with 3.5 for virtually kind of the same reason as characters, is that, again, this was me, but I was a little discombobulated, like in terms of like what the plot is. I wasn't really sure. I wasn't concrete. All I know is that there are different kids and people on these different islands that are probably their stories are probably going to intertwine at some point. They're going to see each other or something like that, or maybe not, but we just get to see how these other cultures live or whatever the case might be and their respective stories. But again, I feel like this is a kind of story that really needs its time to branch out and build itself up, right? It needs that sort of time. And I couldn't get all of that within just the couple pages that we had here. You know what I mean? That was basically the distractor. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Negative Albert Einstein. Yeah. Reverse brain. That's what it is. Just very dumb of me. Smooth brain. But anyway, so those are my rankings. What do you got?
Okay. So yeah, going in reverse order, because why not? Plot, I would have to give a 3. I really liked it, but I do agree that this feels like a slow burner. Like, this is the kind of story that, like, again, depending on what it is, if it's like, it's like, if this is something you're supposed to read, or like if you made this into like an anime or a show, like this feels like something that like 20 episodes in, you're like, all right, like I'm here now. Because the first, 10 or how, like, the first grouping of episodes are purposefully like made to set everything up, to get you to know all these people, to get you to understand the world, how it operates, why it functions the way it does, all of that stuff. Now of course this is a short story, so it's like, like you said, you end up lightly touching on everything instead of being able to extensively touch on one thing, or two things. But like I said, I do actually really, really like the plot. Setting, straight 5. I absolutely, I was getting like Avatar vibes with how quickly I got set up with the world, where I was like, oh, okay, these people do this, and like they're here because they're doing this, and like, okay, like, and I even started to like fill in the gaps in my own mind. I'm like, oh, maybe like these kids don't like them doing this because like they're from here, and like here we do things,
Sure,
and it's like my mind started to like, piece together by itself, like, this pattern here, and sort of fill in, like, make up my own story almost, which is in my book incredible that you can do that just from writing the set, like just from establishing the world. Doesn't even, the characters are doing whatever they do. So yeah, 5 for me for that. And then characters, I have to give a 4. I do agree that they, none of the characters were able to like get into as extensively, like I said before, from the plot thing. But I do think that like my only problem with that would have been if this story had been written with the, like, at the pace that you were already supposed to have connected with these characters, and then kept moving into like other stuff, and it's like, whoa, hold on, slow down, I don't even know who these people are. But again, I do think, and this is just me I do think from this short story, but that purposefully this is made to be a slow burner. This is made that like you're supposed to like be willing to take your time and invest into this world and these people, and like then you will get, like I said, the first 10 or like whatever, the first stretch of episodes, season, whatever, like that's there purposely to get you into and get you to meet and invest yourself in these characters, who they are, why they do what they do, all these things, because the world is, at least in my opinion, is so fascinating on its own that like that will keep you enthralled. And like, I just want to know like how business is run in a typical day, like, you know what I mean, on the streets, if there's like, you know what I mean, and then it's like, oh, then then just through that you get to learn like how these people I don't know. It's weird because in a way it works off of like the inverse of what I think most stories will do, which is get you interested in the characters, and then the characters sort of educate you about the world, and you're like, oh, this world is pretty cool, but it's like because you got to learn it through the character's mindset. But it's the opposite, at least for me with this one, where I just really like the world, and I could see myself like investing in this to like, you know, put that time in to get this.
So out of, out of this story, the first and the second story.
What was that one?
The first story was Strike Me Down. The second story was.
Oh no, I meant like, did you total up the points?
That's what I'm getting at. Those three are tied. So, do you have a favorite?
Wait, which ones? The first?
This one, 1 and 2. Yeah.
1, 2, and this one. Okay.
Do you have a favorite
They're all
out of those
22.5.
three?
Damn, they're all 22.5.
Yeah, Fire Potatoes. I'm trusting Fire Potatoes math here.
It's so weird. What's wrong with us?
I don't even know how that happened. I guess 1 out of 5 was just like maybe it should have been 1 out of 10. I did not think that was going to happen, especially off all the criteria we had. I was like, no way.
Wow, y'all just too good at writing stories.
You ended up with the top 3. Do you have a favorite between those three? Between those three, just to do it. Mine's this one. Out of those 3, personally, yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Damn, I did really like the first one, but I think that's just like, I'm gonna go with this one.
Okay, this
I feel
one
like
wins.
It was the most complete. Like I really liked the first one, but I feel like the first one needed like, if it had gone, like if it had, it's just, I don't know, something about the way the first one was written really stuck out to me, but I feel like that's more of a personal thing in terms of like a general writing thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm gonna go with this one.
This one was called, what was the name of this one?
104.
1 of 4.
Which is funny because it's one story of 4.
Whoa.
Damn. He knew, or she knew, whoever wrote this, they knew that they knew that there was only gonna be 4. Or maybe there was more people and they killed the other people. What? What are you talking about?
Say what now?
Over here, I'm just making bread. Don't mind me.
Okay. So that is a 7 setting.
Nothing.
Yeah, I can't believe that shit.
Yeah, that's crazy. And at first I was like, oh man, was I just being too nice? But I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, if I rated something like a 2 or lower, I'm like, that was bad. And nothing like really hit me as like bad, you know?
Yeah.
Not to like just like throw out gas for the sake of gassing people up, but like these stories were all really well written. I genuinely didn't have a problem with any of them.
Okay, cool. So there you have it. On that one, 1 of 4 was the last story. Turns out it was a 22.5 as well, but I put winner due to total subjectivity at the end, just by picking one, out of those 3. But none of them were bad. By any stretch of the term. Obviously, as you can see, the scores are all virtually identical.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And that doesn't necessarily mean that, we're like, oh, we like this one. Like, this is just better writing than the other one. Like, for instance, my actual favorite story personally was the new ones, and that one scored the 22 out of the 4 of them. So again, it's like totally, it could be totally all over the place with where these rank up.
Yeah, there's like heavy, like I said, the first one like actually kind of hit me the most.
Yeah.
But like it's just like, I don't know. It's like weird once you get down to this because it's like really brass tacks.
Yeah.
Like, okay, how do you? Because again, yeah, they're all virtually basically the same score anyway.
Yeah.
It's like fucking 0.5. Like that's
It's virtually all the same
the
shit.
tractor here.
It's like we did that bullshit where like everyone gets a trophy without actually meaning to do it.
Yeah. We're like,
It's
here's
just
your
like-
number 1 trophy, but everybody here's your participation trophies.
Yeah. So anyway, those are the stories here. If anybody, if anybody was curious,
But
as
I
to
do.
these, but-
I mean, like I said, I do you know, I don't agree necessarily with like pandering, you know, like I wasn't like I said, if I felt any of these stories were like worthy of a 2 or like a lower score, I would have given 1, but I genuinely liked all these stories and I thought they were really well written.
Yeah, they were good. So like I said, I mean, anyone who submitted a story is a winner in my book. So thank you for doing that. And for anyone who feels like they enjoyed this or maybe wants to take a stab at it, if we do this again, please post them in there in our Discord. Definitely join that if you haven't already. We have the short story links. If you scroll down to the bottom of our Discord, it's one of the channels there. So once we make new competitions and all that kind of jazz, you could throw them in there, and then you could always go back and read other people's and stuff like that. Just, you know, trying to keep it anonymous to that extent. Obviously, their names will be there as you post them. But, you know, we'll try and keep it as anonymous as possible when we're actually live, you know. So yeah, hopefully you guys did enjoy it. Thank you to anyone, by the way, that potentially followed and or subscribed to the YouTube channel. Yes. Really goes a long way, or supported the channel in any which way, shape, and form. If you haven't already, please consider doing so. Like I said, hit that follow button on Twitch, hit that subscribe button on YouTube, and hit the bell on both of them so you don't miss any future live streams, as we don't always multi-stream to both platforms. And sometimes we're streaming to a different YouTube channel entirely in AoA Reacts. So you'll definitely want to subscribe there as well and hit the bell so you don't miss any of our live reactions. Tomorrow, we're going to have another live stream, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, with Dr. Bonehead. We're going to be going over the TOG rankings for the Cage arc, which will be the last completed arc in Tower of God right now, and we're going to resume the ranking system once we actually finish this next arc that we've been on for a while now, and find other ways to collab with the guys now that we're totally caught up with Tower of God. So to all the Tower of God fans out there, stay tuned tomorrow, and then Monday we'll be doing our Tower of God new chapter read-through. I believe the new episode will be 71 of Season 3. So we'll be going through that and discussing it. I don't know if there will be blog posts to that one, because we got that ominous news in the previous blog post that he might just end them cold turkey. So if there are no blog posts to be read, then we'll just be going over the chapter and discussing, taking questions, all that kind of stuff. And if you guys have anything that you would like us to maybe react to or have a conversation about that has to do with Tower of God, feel free to post that in our general feedback section in our Discord. You can tag us or, you know, go in there. That way we might have some more material to bounce around with on Monday so that the stream isn't cut too short, being that we only have a chapter to read and a chapter to discuss. So there's only so much you can do off of that. So that would be a good way to kind of supplement some of the extra time that we do have. I know there were like wiki things in terms of like rankings and stuff. There are different videos that people have compiled together that, you know, kind of take a blurb out of the manhwa and like do their own little fan animation or dubbing over it, things like that. We could mess around with that kind of stuff as well. So point is, definitely stay tuned. Follow all of our channels so that way you don't miss any future live streams. And hit us up down in our description if you're on YouTube, in the panels if you're on Twitch, for any other way to support us. Like I said, Discord link is there. Our Patreon if you want exclusive benefits while supporting us. Our social media links so you can stay up to date as well. Our audio-only platforms when we post podcast style discussions. It's all there for you guys to enjoy, so you definitely do not want to miss it. Anyway, why not do a drip tier list for Tower of God? But I mean, we've said this a lot, right? We totally could.
That's true. We could even do a drip tier list of like just anime and like include Tower of God in it, because it's just anime. It's fucking weird. You know, like you know, wouldn't have to be Tower of Gods, because there's some drippy anime characters out there, bro.
It's true. Yeah.
You don't even know.
In a thigh tier list.
But I do. That's definitely coming. Yeah, but I expect full mangas from everybody who submitted a story by the end of next month, because these are all fire and I want to read them more. So y'all have work to do now. And,
I totally agree.
Yeah,
this was a cool format, and even with just 4 stories, it was really interesting to see the differences that you guys had and like the different elements and what stood out and all that kind of stuff. Point is, I'd be excited to do something like this again. If we could get Gavin in on it, if he's available, it'd be cool to get his perspective on certain things. Although he'd probably be out of nowhere. Like somebody would put like the B movie as their story, and Gavin would be like, "That's mine. That's the one I want." Right? I don't know.
Dude, it's yellow. I mean,
Yeah.
do I have to say more?
Yeah, Gavin would like
Yes.
derive this meaning from it that wasn't actually the meaning, and be like, "No, we're going with that." Like clearly, that's
Or
it.
you'd say something and you'd be like, I just feel like that's wrong.
Yeah.
And I have to kill him on camera.
Yeah,
It's just a whole
100%.
thing.
Yeah, no, I want to read more too, Ozzy. That's the plan here. So great way that you guys could be participants in that. Besides actually writing the stories as we provide the competitions for you guys, is making suggestions within the general feedback and all that kind of stuff. Because it really helps. Like I said, this was very spur of the moment because some people had asked if we could do it, and we're like, sure.
Yeah.
And we've been very busy, so we didn't really have too much time to like pin down super specific rules.
How to set it up.
Yeah, and parameters and all that. Like a lot of this setup was done right before we went live on our scenes and how we're going to run this and all that kind of stuff. So we're always looking to improve there. So if you guys have any ideas, whether it come to aesthetically, the stream, like what you're looking at, if they were like, oh, would have been nice for this, that, and the third. If maybe we want to add music into like a story, if somebody had something or is like accompanying thing, like to like put everyone in that mode. If there, were different topics or themes that you guys would like to cover as well, different ways of judging it, all that kind of stuff. If you want it to be judged at all, whatever. All that kind of stuff is welcome. Any sort of constructive criticism and feedback so we could perfect this. But
also, just because I saw Claire wrote for PH, the rain day, most likely next week. I had a spill with my computer yesterday, like literally before I went live. So that's fun. I'm still dealing with that, but everything should be up in order by next week. So I'll make a community post and like Discord and all that, so you'll know. But that's the plan.
yeah. Oh, Fire Potato brings up a good idea too. Ooh, maybe we can figure out a way for everybody to vote. So like, have a chat thing in there, kind of like we did with tier lists and all that kind of jazz. That'd be a good idea. That's a very good idea.
Cool.
I like that. Have the people's opinions and voices heard. Yeah, that would be cool. That'd be cool. All right, I don't think I'm missing anything here. Like I said, stay tuned for future live streams and videos, both on AoA Reacts and the AoA show. You definitely don't want to miss it. Got a lot of cool stuff coming up. But yeah, until next time, folks, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for the support, and we will catch you all on the flip. Peace.
that's a triple play. New episodes, I couldn't wait. Yeah, open your mind at the first gate. Press play, no need to debate. AoA, check me out. Look, clocked in, you can catch the hype. Golden Dawn, how we follow the light. Anime like lifer, married to it, my wife. All these episodes we binging. 3 points, how the Benz is, and it started just with some friend shit. Now the videos is endless. Double A with that O in the middle. All my hate, but them boys is brittle. I've been a senpai, and we going crazy like hentai. 3 dudes that been studying this. Apostle, you don't need an exorcist. Tune in to like once a week. End over, how we bringing the heat. Jesus, AoA, that's a triple play. New episodes, we couldn't wait. Apostles of anime. Yeah, open your mind, that's the first gate. Press play, no need to debate. Apostles of anime. AoA, that's a triple play. New episodes, they couldn't wait. Apostles of anime. Open your mind, that's the first gate. Press play, no need to debate, man. Apostles of anime.